Yeah, good time of day to all of you, my friends here on the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Alex Yermolinsky. Well, welcome back. Whatever Russian schoolboy knows,
This
live.
is Sling Studio, the first affordable live streaming multi-camera platform.
Seriously, yeah. Mute button, yeah. Sorry button. Well, we usually have things to talk about, right? We meet sometimes 2 times a month, sometimes three, sometimes during big events even more often, like the World Championship match. Yeah. Oh, it's fun, of course, but I mean now it's like, what's going on? What are you gonna talk about? Well, I actually think it's gonna be a good show nonetheless, even if I don't have any new games to show you. Oh, I think we see enough games. Games are everywhere, and as far as comments, annotations, no, you see a lot of that too. No, after all, um, I think the personality of the commentator or the annotator, if it's kind of pre-recorded, is much more difficult to discern now because of the requirements of no computer accuracy. Okay, this is what it is. I mean, I write and I talk about chess. You might say for a living. Yeah, and I meet with this demand all the time. Well, they want every word, every no, not every word, every chess word. I'm saying every evaluation be verified by computers. How do you respond to that? I mean, and that's actually brings me back to that World Championship match you guys don't want me to talk about. Because this is the issue, right? If the commentator looks over his shoulder, they say, oh, they just look every once in a while. They just don't, they don't do it all the time. They just do it only sometimes. But it's like the Nigalidze situation. Remember that Georgian guy who won a couple of big opens somewhere in Saudi Arabia, over there, and then he got caught during the second one with his phone, which he was hiding in the toilet. I mean, somewhere, I don't know exactly where, of course, but anyway, it was found, and he had this chess position, current position from his game on it. And then in his defense, his countryman Zurab Azmaprashvili famously said, it was a small cheating. He wasn't really doing it like, I mean, he was just checking some stuff out. It's like he played the game on his own, but it was just, okay, how does it make sense? You cannot be just a little pregnant, right? I mean, if you're pregnant, you're pregnant. The same thing, if you're looking at computers and use engines, either as sort of a crutch to make your job as an analyst and commentator easier, or as a chess player during your games, which constitutes cheating, then you're using computers. There is no middle ground over there. I know, I'm told, hey Alex, you've been living in America for a long time. You're so Russian. I go, okay, yeah, well, define it, specify it. Well, you see things in white and black. Yeah, yeah, I know the night is black and I know snow is white. No, well, who has a problem with that? If it's cheating, it's cheating. Now, first question goes to my audience. First question to my audience. Do you want it? Do you want accuracy in this? Well, and plus the human input, because the analyst was just looking there, maybe It's just one corner of their eye, just a little bit, sometimes, just. Or do you want the person who says, well, no computers in my show? What to do? John Bossy says, like my analysis game 6. Now, lots of computer analysis gave the human version. Now, here is where you guys get caught. This is a huge, gigantic trap. Now, I read an interview with the famous in the past Grandmaster Alexander Belявsky. Of course, formerly one of the best players in the world. Former World Championship candidate. And now, of course, no, he is what, 65, right? I think he's 65, maybe 64. And he's been, coaching people, obviously. No, not just like some random guys. Well, his services in high demand, I suppose. He was just coaching some grandmasters, whatever, very promising young players. I don't know exactly who he coached, but in his interview, Belявsky says, in response to this question, do you use computers in your lessons with your students? He says, yes, I do, because I want the truth. Okay, and so you use computers. Then what is your input, Comrade Belявsky, in those lessons? What do you contribute? He says, I serve as an interpreter. I explain to my students why computer moves are good. This is an amazing thing, and I've been thinking about it. That's what a lot of us do. Once we don't want to be wrong, right? Because, everybody who teaches chess now can tell you multiple stories about them interacting with a student, maybe even as young as 8 years old, and saying, in this position, you put your bishop there, then the knight over there, and then you do this, and then, for example, you can play this move. And then the student pipes in, but coach, there is this. And first he says, okay, let's look at this, says the coach. Well, you say you play that, bishop b5, and I'm going to answer it with a6. And the kid says, then bishop a4. And the coach, and he gets a little red in the face, right? But no, he's still working hard because he's a formerly great player. He's a proud player. And it goes like, I go, c3, yeah. And then, that's d6, and, you lose a piece. Or whatever, or even worse. And you -4. What do you mean I'm -4? Are you using the computer? And then the kid climbs up and is not going to answer the question. Your young students, they never answer this question. If they use computers or not. Well, because you can rest assured that they all do. Alright, so Belявsky says that his job is not to refute computer moves, not to do anything but interpret computers moves in human language. Maybe that's what I did in game 6, right? Maybe that's what I did in game 6. Maybe, how do you know I didn't cheat? Maybe I'm a little smarter than these other guys. Or maybe I have more time on my hands. Or maybe I'm just more eloquent, Maybe I can, maybe I can put things in words. And they can't. They say, bishop g7. Checkmate. Well, I can fluff it, right? I can make, a 5-minute spiel, before talking about the same move, bishop g7 mate. That's why I get paid the big bucks here. And that's why all of you guys, all 13 of you now watching me. Because you fall for this thing, right? Hook, line, and sinker. Was Belявsky, Belявsky actually, I think he's pretty much an honest guy. That's why he said this. Did he reveal this terrible secret? And now you guys would say, oh, well, crap, I was gonna take lessons from a grandmaster, maybe Yermolinsky. Yeah, they charge us like $88 an hour. A horrible number, it's very expensive. But it's like, now I know what they do. They're gonna look at my games of computers and they're just gonna fluff it and they're gonna say a lot of words that mean nothing because I can get computer moves myself for free. I don't know. Then again, if we deny this, suppose there is a person who goes out there in some kind of a chess internet version, if you wish, of a street corner and starts, like, well, yelling, top of their lungs, I do not use computers. I am the only one. I am the keeper of the old ways. I am old school. I am this. Well, I don't know. Maybe you could believe this person. Maybe we wouldn't. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that, well, when your book published, well, now chess book published. Before that, okay, the editor maybe will check your grammar or whatnot. Looking for typos, proofreading and all that. Now proofreading basically means verifying everything with computers. And now, here is this thing, right? I know I'm not gonna bother you with this again, but let me just put this up there, right? That game 6, and we're gonna go to this position, right? Okay, that's already a little too far. Now I have to backtrack. I don't know. Okay, I'll just start backtracking a little bit. Sorry about this. I know I can use a command, but I don't know if it's enough. It's probably about enough. Right? Bishop g5, bishop c4. Now I would probably start from here. Okay, from this position. Let's go back to this notorious game 6, right? Here is the story about this whole thing. I don't even remember. Well, you say that you remember my analysis, but no, right. The human part of this, I was trying to understand why Carlsen played like this, because clearly, no, his own play brought him on the brink of defeat. And I ventured into this area of whatever, psychology or whatnot, which I'm absolutely not qualified to do. But I had an idea that Magnus was so desperate to have a game that he was willing to get the worst side of it, if not the losing side. Now, yeah, the famous mate instead of knight f3. Yeah, no, there wasn't knight f3 here, right? In this position, yeah, knight f3. Bishop h4. Now, and then they say, in defense of Caruana, everybody wants to defend Caruana. Because Caruana, he gave this nice speech. He said, I didn't listen to speeches. Well, I don't listen to speeches, period. Well, believe me or not, I haven't listened to a single presidential speech, like State of the Union address or any of that kind of stuff, ever. Right, ever since I came to the United States of America, and I didn't listen to any speeches given by presidential candidates, including the ones I had the misfortune of voting for. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe I heard enough of those speeches during my young days in the Soviet Union. Anyways, I didn't listen to Caruana's speech, but, well, okay, fine. I saw the pictures, him with the microphone standing there, and he looked like, Fabiano looked like he was saying all the right things, right? Oh, that was great honor for me to play Magnus Carlsen. I hope to win, but, well, I also learned a lot, and now I hope I can get another opportunity. And thank you all, for watching, and thank you to the organizers and Mr. Rex Sinkfield in person. And okay, enough. That's what at least it looked like. I mean, had he said anything else, it would probably be given in quotes, right? And so Fabiano is a nice guy, right? And well, and a lot of people rooted for him. A lot of people in the United States, they were saying, "Oh well, time to return the World Championship crown to the United States." It suspiciously sounds like Russians when they say that, "Oh, Sergei Karyakin will bring the World Championship crown back where it belongs." Crown belongs in the Soviet Union, in the museum, maybe. Okay. Anyway, my point is that he got a lot of leeway for not winning this game. A lot. Nobody said, hey, we expect Black to win this game. Why? It's precisely because of that mate in 36 or mate in 61 or mate in 64. It just, all it does, it makes it sound much harder than it really is. Okay, I can imagine a composed study where it says mate in 36. I know such things exist, even longer. And it's really beyond, human ability. At least, I mean, I don't know who you have to be able to solve it. You have to practice this craft, your whole life. It's basically circus type of, worthy of circus. So, or I can imagine some of those famous John Nunn's pawnless positions, and recently I look up, they claim that there is one that is checkmate in 535 moves. Okay, computers, so I'm not going to argue with that. To me, it makes about as much sense if you have a couple of, I don't know, 15 or whatever, even 3-digit numbers, and the computer, multiply one by another, and computer gives you an answer. Computer, I mean your calculator, I meant to say, apologize. And you're not going to check your calculator, right? If a calculator, unless it runs out of battery power, it's right. There are no two ways about it. Once again, going back to this, seeing the world in black and white, right? Okay. So there's no arguing with your calculator, there's no arguing with your refrigerator, there's no arguing with Lomonosov table base when it says whatever, mate in 534, I don't know what they use. Maybe not Lomonosov, doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with anything. Except that it gives an excuse to Fabiano Caruana for not winning the same game. Why didn't he win the same game? I tell you why he didn't win his own game. We go back right to this point. When the first time around, right in this position, where he played bishop d8, after thinking a little bit, well, to me, once he played bishop d8, I immediately realized that he's not getting it at all, the same game. He is thinking in terms, I need to bring my knight to a5. Actually, some commentators, I understand it's hard to do this because you basically like staying with this game since the beginning. And indeed, if you don't use computers, these guys weren't using computers. And you try to say things, that make sense. And they did. They say, oh, bishop d8 is great because then black can bring the knight to e5. And that's exactly what Caruana thought. Now, to me, it sent one warning sign that he's not going to win this endgame, because what he's trying to do, he's trying to push the white king away from g6. He's playing this on sort of like general grounds. What, you have a gremlin of gigantic size. Now, here is the thing, right? Kind of a general grounds, almost like we approach just some random middle game positions that are simply cannot be calculated to a win. Okay, endgame play consists of calculation and playing on general grounds. Right? Good moves, pushing the opponent's king back, bringing his king over, and then indeed he brought his king over. You can see the final position. His king was active, everything was good. The only problem, it was a draw. Now Magnus gave him a very broad hint on what this endgame is all about by playing his king to h7. Now, what does this move tell you? You speak. What does this move tell you? What is that white is trying to prevent? I think it's fairly obvious. The point of the move king h7, which world champion Magnus Carlsen played in this position, where he could have played anything else. Why did he play king h7? "22 people here and a lot of good players. You should be able to answer that question." Let me see. It's cutting off a little bit. Stop the black king from going to h8. It's simply the only thing, that you can read from this move. Now, okay, you say, why should I pay any attention to what my opponent is thinking, and whatever. No, your opponent happens to be a world champion, Magnus Carlsen. Now, chess players use it all the time. They try to decipher opponent's intentions, and they make their own decisions based on the information they glean from that, however correctly or incorrectly. That's a big part of chess game. Stopping the black king to go to h8. Alright. What Fabiano should have done here is to think. What would have happened if I brought my king to h8? Would I have won the game or not? Probably, if he asked himself this question, considering how bright he is and how quickly he calculates, he would have come up with an answer to this question literally in seconds. The black actually wins. Any way you want to play it. Black's idea is what? To make the next step forward. For that, the black knight has to come to f4. This is how you think in endgame. You don't calculate move to move. You try to visualize remote positions, the ones that you want to reach. And then you build bridges between them, getting from this position to the position with the knight on f4. But before you do this, before you start building that bridge, you gotta make sure that that target position is worth reaching. I'm sorry, there's somebody at the door, guys, I'm gonna have to leave you here for a moment. And they're not even ringing the bell, they're knocking on the door. I need to find out who it is. Sorry. Why f4 knight but not e5? I was greedy. Actually, I would take e5 too, if you give me a chance. I was greedy because I was hoping to put the knight on f4. The white king goes to h6, and then I come up with the mate. It's greed. From e5 I cannot mate you because I don't control the h5 square. But you're absolutely right. Any of these two checks, or possibly even a check from h4, should you move that pawn forward, will do the most important thing. It will dislodge the white king permanently. You know what we actually have here? We have an endgame that combines the ideas of two very well-known types of endgame. One is opposite cover bishops, and the other one is, as they say, good knight versus bad bishop. Imagine a situation, okay, I'll play a few moves, whatever. Bishop there, knight, he goes this way. I don't know really why I want to go to f4, but I want to go to f4. I won't go to e5, right? So I play this move. Now white plays this, check. Let's just suppose. Yeah. Funny thing is that there is not one thing that white can do about it. If I know it's checkmated in two, but if that bishop was anywhere else, and it would take a long road, through a lot of obstacles or whatnot, the bishop would still get there, right? And the one thing about having this opposite cover bishop is that you don't have your saving grace of stalemate. You don't have that. Now, right, once we understand that, then we see, of course, that regardless, maybe that pawn is not on h5, but it doesn't matter, If I take this pawn on h4 or I don't, it doesn't matter. Well, lucky for Caruana, which it didn't have to have the bishop on d8. It's still good enough, because you do this, and then it attacks, and you can come back. But it's job done already. Now you take the pawn on h4. And now you stop and give it to computers. And computers will tell you, well, checkmate in 36. And somebody would say, see, you still cannot do this. Even computers with their best play, they only give checkmate in 36. And it's like 36 moves. Have you ever checkmated anybody in 36 moves? Have you ever announced, sat there like the old maestro of the whatever mid-19th century and say, after taking a puff of your cigar, mate in 36. And then you get up. And then the spectators, they start throwing those gold coins, on the chess table. Right? You never done this. I have not. Because it's pointless. It's pointless. How many times in your chess you were promoting your opponent to a queen and the opponent would give up? Did you ever bother to find out how many moves it would take you to actually checkmate him once you promoted your opponent to a queen? It makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't matter. Well, what it matters in chess, in human sense, is what they call progress. Do you remember what Magnus Carlsen famously said? Well, about I don't believe in fortresses, and then, well, he was the one who set up a fortress. There was a lot of play on that. He said that in his match against Karyakin. And it's really true. Magnus still doesn't believe in fortresses. Not in a way when some person says, oh, I don't believe in guns. I mean, come on, you don't believe in physical objects? They do exist in the world. It's just a figure of speech, right? Okay, fine. Well, when Carlsen says, I don't believe in fortresses, he doesn't mean to say that fortresses do not exist, because they do exist. But what he really means to say is that he doesn't believe they would work. Now, in what percentage of cases? Ever? 1%, 100%, that doesn't matter. Well, a chess player operates with what they say high percentage chess. in Magnus's world, and you can't argue with success, whenever he has a safe endgame with chances of improving, he's not going to bother, with that. Oh, am I going to be able to win? No, he'll go for it and let things play itself out. That's why he's so successful at this point. I guarantee, 100% guarantee, you can put this in the bank. If you reverse colors in this game, Magnus Carlsen would have won it. Mate in 36 or mate in 64, or whatever, as Kasparov described it, completely impossible for a human to put the knight on g1, then white can play the bishop to g4, right? Okay. Well, the mistake was made here with this move, right? King g6. No, right, it's understandable. Carlsen knew that he had to keep the king over there, but he thought he was put out of position. I think Magnus Carlsen knew that he was lost. He abandoned his fortress because he knew that the fortress could be breached. Well, yeah, truth to tell, if he played this... Now, how difficult is to find this move? We already established a few moves ago that the strongest, the most dangerous square for the Black Knight to go is the f4 square. How hard is that to see bishop c4? I mean, those things are gradual. Look, it's not like you're shown a succession of positions like this, one after another. Then indeed, you'll have your head spinning. After the second or third one, you would say, no mas. But I mean, you're sitting there, you're looking basically at the same thing for minutes and minutes, if not altogether maybe for an hour. Well, one thing leads to another. This is how people figure these things out. And I'm absolutely convinced that they came to this point. Now, seeing, okay, well, I cannot get my knight to f4. But I like my knight there, right? The knight is well positioned. It controls the pawn on f5. The bishop h4 move is not so difficult to play. No, right, there is one tactical line to see, right? We need to remember that h6 is always bad. Because there is this check from e5. Look, this is actually a variation that you can miss, even if you're a super grandmaster. It's not the mate in 64, it's a 3-move variation that is here, that basically was not even mentioned not quoted in computer analysis. But it's something that humans worry about. Can this pawn queen? Oh, great, I have check. Oh, crap, he can hit my bishop and threatens to queen. And this, I lose my bishop. Oh, relief, his bishop is under attack. Once you see this, then you can play bishop h4. The reason Caruana didn't play bishop h4 is not because he doesn't have a computer in his head. There are two reasons for that. First of all, he never understood where his king needed to be, although Magnus gave him a very broad hint with that move, king h7. And second explanation rather, is that he couldn't see this variation through. And that's why worried that bishop h6 was just impossible. Bishop h4 was impossible on account of h6. And goodness gracious, maybe I lose. No, you won't lose anyway, of course, but no, it looks scary. Right? You look, oh, does this save the game? It actually does. But... Well, yeah, there are some calculations to do, obviously, but the main thing in endgames like this, like all opposite color bishop endgames, and all endgames when you have this good knight versus bad bishop, is to set up your target positions. This is what I'm thinking about. The real reason was that. Now, well, and if you go to this Kasparov line, which I hope I can recall, what was it? This, and that. Okay, great. It's not a bad move. Point is that it's the only way to fight against this knight f4, right? Because now I can stay on h7. My h5 pawn is protected. Yeah. No, this is good. But then we come to this thing that Kasparov said, that no human player would ever because the knight has no moves. Really? Oh, too bad, the knight has no moves. You have the from opposite cover bishops, right? Suppose you have no knight anymore. Okay, for now. But you can always mark time. In all opposite cover bishop endgames, when you play for a win, one thing you for sure can do is to mark time, right? So what's the problem? You start marking your time. What do you do? Okay, even this, right? King h7. There are many ways of it. It's always going to be white who gets in Zugzwang there. Never black. But better, of course, is to take the j8 square while you can. He will run out of moves. And very quickly so. I mean, I'm even improvising, you know, I don't have to think much. Now, either you let my knight to come to f4, been there, done that, and from e2 or h3, or else, you know, you run out of your moves and you have to let my king go. And closer you move your h-pawn, the sooner you're gonna lose it. Bizarre, right? I think this endgame was really made out to be way more difficult than it really was. I heard those things that the most difficult endgame in the history of World Championship matches. Duh. Huh? No, there are some nice moments over there. King h7 from Carlsen. Oh boy, that was a move. No, Kasparov is a universal player. Maybe he grew up as an attacking player, but I mean, he played Karpov 5 times in matches. No, I don't think so. I think that was a little bit of this chess journalism in action, in the sense that no, you can't criticize players. Because if you criticize players, then you come across as the guy who looks at computers. Okay, now, next stage of this conversation. There is Grandmaster Gregory Sorber, right? No, you haven't seen him in chess tournaments for about 12 years, if not more. He lives in Seattle. He has completely retired from chess. He is Ivanchuk's age, right? So he's going to turn 50 next year. Lives in Seattle with his wife, who works for Microsoft, and is raising. No, he's kind of a stay-at-home dad. You know, obviously he has students and all that, but okay, fine. So Gregory is he's a contributor, a writer to chess.com, right? So he writes articles on various chess subjects, and he had one about the match. There may be more than one, but that one caught my eye where he was showing why he was telling why Caruana, what went wrong, why Caruana didn't win, and he said he didn't have his kind of positions. And I'm thinking, what positions? I mean, the best positions that he had was the white side of the Sveshnikov, right, the knight d5 line. He was welcoming the slides. He didn't have to. But then Serper said, but then there was this game of Kasparov, shows this famous game Kasparov-Shirov from a different line of the Sveshnikov. So he basically advocated that Caruana should have played the Karpov line in the Sveshnikov. No, right, I should probably show this, right? Maybe it's game 12, it doesn't matter in which game. Or maybe this one, the one that he lost, right? The tiebreaker was also Sveshnikov. So, what Serper was advocating there, almost like so he gave first example of Karpov going into this g4, g5 attack against Kasparov Shveningen in the famous game 24 of their second match. Kasparov wins it, even though Karpov had a strong attack, but Kasparov wrote in his whatever books that when Karpov played this move, he was kind of cringing and looked uncomfortable playing this move. And then I knew I made the right choice. No, Gary Kasparov, you knew you made the right choice after Karpov stopped the clock. Well, probably not before that. Okay, maybe, like you could figure out that you were already winning, or at least not in danger of losing, way before that, but still. No, it's not like, he cringed when he played g4 and then I knew I'm a world champion. Come on. But, alright. Then Serper goes ahead. It's interesting. And he shows this game, Karpov's favorite line over there, right? Anyway, you guys are familiar with all this. Why am I showing you the general theory of the Sveshnikov? Okay, now in this position, don't take on f6, because gf6, whatever. Now play knight d5, and then on this you take, and now he'll take with the bishop. Otherwise the bishop is misplaced on e7. And then we have this, Karpov's favorite line, and then this game Kasparov-Shirov, which featured a positional exchange sacrifice on b7. Great game, no doubt about it, for sure. But I'm thinking, if Caruana's advantage over Carlsen, well, may have been in the areas of opening preparation, that's A, calculation. No, I'm not saying it's true or not, but that's what they were saying. Calculations and generally complex position with chances to go against the king. How is this stuff better than what Caruana was actually doing with knight d5? By the way, this has been Caruana's main variation against Sveshnikov. He played quite a few games. Lost to Mamedyanov, that was one of them. Had some better games. But I mean, it would not come as a surprise. Absolutely not. No. If Carlsen was prepared to face anything, it had to be this. So, I really didn't get the point of this whole thing, of what Serper was trying to say. Now, how is this position, which Caruana, okay, it was knight b8 on this first, and then it switched to knight e7, but altogether there were games 8, 10, 12, and the tiebreak game, which we will call game 14. 4 cracks Caruana had at Carlsen in this position, and he got what? Okay, clearly 3 draws, and then he finally lost. I mean, is that the fault of the position? Or is that the fault of the player? I mean, I want to get some answers there. It goes without saying that Carlsen had absolutely no punch with the white pieces. But what about Caruana? Okay, maybe the starter Salima, but he finally overcame his fears, which understandable, and came out with his main stuff and he did some prep. And what do you think, guys? What do you think about all this? How come, arguably the best player in the world to handle this wasn't able to do anything with White? Are we misunderstanding the position? What about the computers? How come the computers they always give White some edge? Well, nothing decisive, but they seem to be liking White. And I throw in another thing for you guys. Caruana plays a lot of f3, right? The English attack against Najdorf and stuff. And he loves playing knight d5 early and take back with the pawn. He's no stranger to the structure. He's maybe a stranger to this variation, but who doesn't? Hasn't been played on highest level since the candidates match between Yudasin and Kramnik in, goodness, 1993 or whatever. I want some answers, guys. What's the mystery of this whole thing? Does Carlsen have better computers that show that black is actually okay or maybe even better? Whatever I have analysis engines, they seem to be showing White's having his normal 0.3, whatever advantage. Okay, you're studying King's Gambit theory. Well, good for you, but it doesn't have much to do with this, does it? There was this thing, right? Well, one thing, was coming from another. But what endgame? Okay, but Caruana is only 3 rating points below him. Well, goes without saying that Carlsen is better in the endgame. Okay, but Caruana has to have some qualities. After all, he beat Carlsen in some games. He lost some, but I mean, everybody was saying that Caruana's strength is in the middle game. With many pieces on the board, lots of things to calculate, and well, whatever, maybe go after the king. Now, this is an interesting opinion. Don't understand how White can give black so much kingside play, as in variations we saw. Would be uncomfortable with these positions even if one was winning for White. Now, this is an excellent point. Well, allow me to compare it not to King's Gambit, but to a more related opening called King's Indian Defense. Now, let's think King's Indian. There are 3 ways, not 3 systems, there's way more than 3. 3 ways, 3 approaches how to play the King's Indian. Alright, against the King's Indian. Approach 1. You keep your pawn on d4 and you don't take on e5 and you don't push d5, you just keep the pawn there. For that, you play the g3 variation. Okay? Now, who played the g3 variation? Botvinnik. Keeps his pawns on c4, d4 and e4. Botvinnik loved the Maroczy bind. The Botvinnik system was always about pawns on e4 and c4 or e5 and c5. He didn't mind trading his d pawn, the middle pawn. So he keeps his pawn on d4, plays g3, Bronstein against him takes d4 or tau, and then they play something, whatever. Well, a lot of people play g3, and now g3 always gonna be there. Alright, approach number 2. We answer e5 immediately with d5, as in Petrosian system, the Averbach system, and some other related things. We close the center. Now, we either keep the king in the center or we castle long with white. A lot of people play like this. I'm actually quite big on this. And then there is the third approach. Oh, we castle short and let him go f4 and g5, g4. By the time we'll win the pawn on a7, and I don't see a mate here, and I'm up a pawn and I'm winning. Says who? Fabiano Caruana? I don't think so. He didn't seem to be confident in that. He was with you, John Bossy. He didn't believe. Karpov, g4. He played something he didn't believe in. You know what? Serper had a point. Who would believe in White's position? Yeah, you like Petrosian lines because you don't expose yourself to knight takes g2 played by Nakamura followed by a Russian attack. Because your king, you're floating with your king, who knows? Maybe you on e1, maybe you go king d1 c2, whatever. Maybe you castle short, but only in situations when, no, you're already not in danger of being mated. Now, okay, I mentioned Korchnoi. Yeah, this attitude, right? I don't see a forced mate, but I see I'm up a pawn. Let me take on a7. No, okay, there is the Anderson approach, take on e5. No, there actually more than to it than just playing for a draw, maybe. Yeah, but what did Magnus's team really do? Dimitrios, what did they do? There is no theory here. There's no variations to prepare. Did they even look like they played some prepared moves? Absolutely not. No, well, it was a little bit. Okay, here. No, he switched from knight b8 to knight e7. Okay, this is sort of a general theory. Everybody knows that. So, for this game, he switches away from bishop f5 to queen b8. There's hardly any principal difference between these two moves. What was that, you know? I mean, Magnus is not exactly known, wasn't exactly known for playing the King's Indian. Although recently, I noticed that Magnus played a few King's Indians. And now he played this. I think it's part of Magnus's work on sort of revamping, you know, his chess. Because regardless, you know, even if he said, well, don't bother me now, you know, I have 2 years to think about while holding the trophy and all that. And okay, he deserved it, right? He won. But I mean, that work will never stop. Magnus knows that he is not dominating, and he also knows that he dodged a major bullet. Second time already. He almost lost to Karyakin. Don't you think he knows that? He almost lost to Caruana. He also knows that. And that's part of this. Now, is he going to be successful playing this? Will Magnus go and play this position and against anybody tomorrow? I don't think so. I think that would be a bad idea. I can name a few names that I wouldn't recommend Magnus to venture into this against. Starting with Levon Aronin, possibly Alexander Grishuk. Well, no, he didn't seem to know what to do. Look, he plays, in one game, he plays f3 and to put his knight on e4, right? And then Kramnik says, I would have never even thought of f3. Next game, Corona doesn't play f3. It's almost like, oh, but Vlad said that f3 is not good, I'm not going to play it. And he didn't play it in a position when he had to play it. I mean, is Caruana like that weak? He can't be that weak. What is that between Caruana and this position? He played the structure many times. It comes out of his English attack. I really don't know. I mean, I'm thinking maybe this is no rocket science. He's a great player. Even during the match, okay, maybe they didn't know before the match that it could be Sveshnikov. Maybe they only came up with this while Caruana was wasting his whites on Narasalima. But still there was time. Well, Aronin and Grishuk are, how to put it, they go for a very big picture. They try to take over the entire board. But Caruana is more of a hands-on guy, His stuff is on calculations. These guys, they would play moves they want to play because they want to take over the game. There always been players like this. Yefim Geller, a classic example from the 1950s and 60s. And later too. The scale of ambition is... maybe Caruana had it, but he changed his style. You didn't notice? You think he just started playing better? Really? Where's his time trouble? Why was Fabiano Caruana in time trouble in 2016 and 2017? And he's not in time trouble in 2018? No, a shortage of time. Yeah, no, bad position in game one. But in general, because he made this sacrifice, in my opinion, he said, I'm not going to go by way of Grishuk. When I blunder away good positions, I need to... So he scaled it down a little bit. I think he cut down on his positional ambition. Kramnik is another guy. Kramnik would... No, he had the game with white against that Yugoslav guy, right? Serbian guy, pardon me. In the chess Olympiad. You can look it up. It wasn't the bishop f5 line, right? That's what Caruana followed this game, but h5 came. And then... yeah, this was in this game... what was it? Was it game 10 or game 12? Anyway, this is my point, I'm really surprised that Caruana couldn't figure out this type of positions. If anybody told me before the match they would have this position 4 times and ask me to predict the score, I would say, well, yeah, Caruana wins this. No, I mean, he has 4 whites. And a position that doesn't seem to suit Magnus Carlsen very much. He hadn't played many of those before the World Championship match. I would be shocked, And if they tell me, well, no, he actually lost this, what do you think was the final result of the match? Since he lost it at -1, I would say, guys, Carlsen won +4, after 9 games. He just crushed Caruana elsewhere. I mean, I cannot believe that this is to me, in my opinion, this is the best, position that Caruana could dream of against Carlsen. And he couldn't play it. You played Caruana since he was 9 years old. I bet, people change their style from 9 years old. Chess players always tinker. Nobody stays the same. Look, I just said that Carlsen tries to sharpen his game with the black pieces. He doesn't want to play the Berlin anymore. He's tired of this grind. Everybody gets tired. Gata Kamsky, he asks, oh, Gata, you're such a great defender. Gata says, was. I hate defending now. Everybody changes. Caruana did some great work by scaling down, in a strategic content on his games, getting more hands-on, and that relieved them from time trouble. I can see that. Even if I never met Caruana in my life, I can see chess moves. Well, it is hard to tell. I don't know what's going on with Karyakin's chess now. But fact of the matter is, you're completely right. Carlsen didn't want to play this. He didn't go anywhere near the C-pawn against Karyakin. Maybe remembering, but then that Karyakin was a career A4 player and he had great success. But Caruana is a career A4 player as well. No, branches out into D4, C4 sometimes. I don't know. The right psychological approach. No, well, yeah, but look how many people do it. How many challengers have done the same thing? Oh, Visha, you're doing so great. 95 New York. Look, you holding your own. It's 8 draws after 8 games. Yeah, you're doing fantastic. Congratulations, Visha. And then you win game 9. See? Didn't I tell you? Visha is absolutely right. You only took one loss. Granted, it was a tough loss. As tough as they come. Get hit by that kind of novelty in the open Spanish and lose the game in a Russian fashion, out of starting gates. And, well, yeah, what happens when the challenger wins or takes a lead in the match? Leka was ahead by 1 against Kramnik. Yeah, Karyakin was ahead. The champion can come back. The challenger with this mindset will never come back. The match is going on until the champion takes the lead. Okay, maybe if it happened at game 1, things would have been different. But this series of draws saps the challenger's energy much more than the champion's energy. Because the champion is champion, he's been there, he's done that. A challenger cannot afford this. It simply makes him a worse player. My answer to this whole thing, my theory, if Caruana had this position in game 2 and then in game 4, right? Or rather, game 1, game 3, and game 5, he would have gotten it. Simply, he went to this too late in the match. He already was drained by this drawing, the series of draws. I don't know what he could have done, to break out of this. I don't know. If I were there, I would tell him, okay, Fabiano, it may sound stupid, let's sit down and play 20 blitz games now. You crush me in this 19-1 in this position. You gotta actually get your hands dirty with certain positions. Fabiano never had this position on the board. Looking at computers only make it worse. Play it. Cut your teeth on it. Play f3 at the right moment, at the wrong moment. You have it. Besides, what is me? You have 5 seconds over there. People who basically just, they do what, they whine and dine. I think that losing game 1 is better. Look, Spassky said it. He didn't win the first match with Petrosian, right, in 66. Well, many people thought, he should beat them. Nobody believed that Petrosian was such a great player. He was strong, everybody knew that, but they thought, it's Spassky now. But Petrosian won. It was rather convincing. Well, Spassky had chances, but it looked like Petrosian was a better player in 66. Now, roll forward to 69. Game 1, Spassky loses with white pieces in this Paulson Sicilian. I understand 24-game match. I heard this before. Spassky said it privately. It was the best thing that could have happened to me. The pressure was gone. Now, Fischer knew pressure, right? The guy dealt with pressure his whole life. Not only he lost game 1 by playing bishop takes h2 and getting his bishop stuck. Do you think he was that stupid? I'm not saying he lost on purpose. You know what I'm thinking? That the way Carlsen played this game 6, once he drifted in the worst endgame and he decided to sack the bishop and go for that crazy fortress that should have been breached and broken and destroyed, I think subconsciously he felt, if I lose it won't be okay. It's very taxing to have this draws. And speaking of Fischer, he didn't show up for game 2. A game 3 shows up, plays his Benoni, and everything's good. You gotta get that load off your shoulders. Is that unique view? Starting a match from a loss could be very hard. Maybe the hard is what you do, instead of keeping yourself half asleep. Well, it happens. Well, I mean, my whole life I'm interacting with chess players that of my level lower and some thankfully higher and much higher. And they tell me these things. I can see it. How many times it happened to me? Well, very many. Fear of losing only aggravates with every draw you make. It saps your energy. Makes you fear that loss more and more. But the champion can come back. I'm telling you, if somehow, some way, which of course no didn't happen, if somehow Caruana won with black game 11, which Magnus made sure won't happen, by basically wrapping up all the games with white that he had, probably Carlsen would have had chances to come back and win game 12. Champions, they have this thing. When the crowns are taken away, they're not taken away in the last win. Who did it? Tell me. Give me one example of a guy who stole a world championship crown in the last game. You guys know your chess history. Did Carlsen beat Anand like this? Hell no. At least the first match he dominated from start to finish. Well, Magnus is hard to surprise and keeps the pressure. He's a strong guy, of course, the high endurance, ability to retain focus. He will take smallest advantage, grind down anybody. Well, you're talking about great Magnus, as Magnus puts it 2 or 3 years ago. I think that it's more like 5 or 6 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, Magnus somehow already started his decline. He stopped being a dominant player, he was. Others adjusted. It's a combination of things. The drive diminished. But at his best, Carlsen was exactly as you described. Athenian, it's absolutely perfect. You nail it. Your draws don't energize you. Look, I had this friend. He's dead. Grandmaster. From Kyrgyzstan. Leonid Yurtaev. Once we were sitting there during one of the random tournaments that we played back in the bad old USSR. And in comes another participant of the tournament, a famous grandmaster of the future, Alexander Chernin. By the way, one of the guys who coached Caruana and helped him a lot. Chernin's been living in Hungary for a long time, whatever. And Chernin had this kind of a ugly style, always played for draws. Oh, Dvoretsky student. And he knew. He wasn't Dvoretsky student. He wasn't even from Moscow. He just took a couple of sessions with Dvoretsky. So anyway, Alexander had this... I mean, he had his moments, obviously, and he wasn't a bad player, but the style was just as described. Anyways, he comes to us and says, guys, I don't know what's going on, I don't know, no matter what I try, I take terrible risks, I'm worse in every game, and then whatever, I take chances, and yet every game ends in a draw. I'll give anything, for this to end. And then Yurtaev tells him, you lose a couple of games beginning tomorrow, and everything's gonna be okay. That's the answer. Another version of this is like every long drawing series ends with a loss. It never ends with a win. How is that possible, say you? No, well, obviously it's sort of an exaggeration. Those things, they just... Yeah, who stole championship? Last game, Oeva Alyokin? Oeva stole the championship. He took control in game in 1935 by with about 10 games to go. Alyokin was leading after 10 games, big time, 7-3. By game 20 or 22, Oeva was ahead by 3. Well, Alyokin made it close toward the end. Oeva only needed a draw in the last round, but he didn't steal it in the last game. No, sir, no. I remember my chess history. Nobody did it. All challengers, even when Botvinnik was beaten, he was outplayed throughout the entire match. Nobody stole nothing from Botvinnik. It's the only way the challenger ever wins. By being a better player throughout the entire match. Like Kramnik was. Now, Kramnik says, I was not a better player than Kasparov, but in that match I was a better player. Look at the games. Kramnik won his game 2, he was winning in game 4, couldn't convert extra knight in the end game. Even Kasparov was beaten like this. Kasparov beat Karpov the same way. He didn't steal that title in the second match. Yeah, he won the last game, but he was ahead by 1 going to the last game. I really cannot recall any steal of the World Championship crown. I don't think it happens. Bronstein had advantage in this match. Well, I remember those games, but okay, he just couldn't build enough margin. The same way with Leko, he lost the last game, right, to Kramnik. It seemed to me that Leko could have won, but it's not like it was the other way around. Sometimes the advantage of the challenger was like Fischer's advantage, which was huge, or the way Smyslov and Tal beat Botvinnik. Sometimes it's more marginal. Sometimes it only comes to 1 game. And yes, sometimes a champion can save it, like Kasparov did against Karpov in Sevilla, and Kramnik did against Leko. Of course, it's on mental attitude. I yet to see a challenger which successfully realized the strategy of Sergei Karyakin and Fabiano Caruana. By somehow, okay, now, well, we had these tie breaks, right? I purposely avoided talking about tie breaks, but tie breaks are gonna be gone. Okay, well, take my word for it. There is never going to be another World Championship match that involves any kind of Rapid, Blitz, or Armageddon, or you name it. No, sir. I don't know exactly what system they will use, but there will be no other kinds of chess mixed in. People honestly had enough. I mean, nothing against Carlsen, well, as a person, but I mean, to retain your World Championship title twice by beating some your challengers in different kinds of chess, no, it's not gonna fly. Watching perfect chess at lower level than top levels. First of all, nobody is perfect. It's number 1. Depends, how low you go. Put it this way. There could be a nice game produced by 2200 players and maybe even lower. But generally speaking, good quality of chess now begins somewhere from the from the rating of 2650 maybe. There could be a few guys who are lower now, but they were higher before and they just lost rating due to advancing age or maybe whatever, lost interest and don't care anymore. But they can hurt you. Okay, Shabalov, for example. Shabalov's chess is always going to be entertaining. Or Shirov, I don't know what Shirov's rating is now. Maybe he's below 2650. But I mean, it's certainly Shirov is Shirov, right? And that's what Nakamura said. Well, it was nice to see a mere 2600 guy, like opening up the game against you. He said that after beating Shirov at Isle of Man. To me, honestly, it was a very stupid thing to say because, well, I was gonna say all due respect, but no respect. Total disrespect to Hikaru Nakamura. He hasn't accomplished in chess what Shirov has accomplished. Shirov beat Kramnik, had a world championship match stolen from him. Nobody so far stole anything from Hikaru Nakamura. Point is, well, yeah, 2650, yeah, that it's very exciting. No less exciting than 2750. You see no challenger out there who believes he can beat Carlsen. John, I agree with you. I think these people, well, some of them maybe would have believed if they could get there, but they won't. I'm mainly referring to Aronin and Grishuk. The different life circumstances for both of them, but well, there's some similarities. They already done their best. They can still play well, and particularly Aronin. Aronin is not burdened by a large family, which Grishuk, I'm sure, welcomes as a great change in his life with Katya Lagno. But Levon maybe has more good years than him, but they can't make this run. No, they're too old for that. And among others, unfortunately, no, yeah, Shakhriyar, it's a big stretch. I don't know. I just don't believe in Shakhriyar that much. So we need to see new people coming into world elite. It will happen eventually. Old system. No, well, yeah, but I don't. Well, look, I can only guess what they will do, and I'm not advising anybody. I'm not even. Well, do you want me to talk to Sotovsky? I probably could, maybe Emil would take my call, but what for? What is my opinion? A random old guy, who sits there in his house in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, counting days till Social Security checks will start coming. I mean, my opinion is absolutely irrelevant. Let FIDE figure it out. Let people, who get paid for it, figure out the best world championship system. Well, Dean, one thing, I'm not sure, once again, I cannot delve into this psychology thing, but when I saw Ding, when Magnus made a very smart move. When he selected Ding as his chosen challenger in that chess.com thing when they played all sorts of rapid, whatever, blitz chess. And Ding could not turn it down. And but he had so much respect for Carlsen. And besides, Ding never plays online chess. I don't know. No, maybe he came in person. I don't even remember what it was. But he played very badly, and it doesn't give a lot of promise that Ding would be able to handle Magnus. Such things it would be better for the challenger to avoid playing the champion. Less you meet the champion, well, you remain more of a mystery. You make the champion a little nervous. Nothing better a champion wants than another guy emerging from this pool of players he knows inside out. And he dominated for very many years. Maybe things would change if Carlsen started finishing fifth in tournaments like Petrosian did. when during his World Championship reign, but hasn't happened yet. Magnus is still good enough to get in a four-way tie and somehow beat people in rapid or blitz playoffs and come away as the winner of another YKZ on Norwegians. Yeah. Don't know. We might have to wait a little longer. Although there are some experts whose opinion I trust, who are saying that 3 times the charm, and since Carlsen is not really playing the World Championship matches to his potential or even to his normal ability. That's what I hear from people. They say that worst chess that Carlsen showed was at the 2 World Championship matches against Karyakin and Caruana. Maybe so, is probably also affected by the draws and all that. So those experts, I will not name names, are saying that 3rd time around it's not going to be the charm for Magnus Carlsen. It's going to get beat. We will see. Pragananda, well, I don't know. I know nothing about the skids. You know. That's maybe so. I really don't know. Well, we'll learn more. Literally, a month from now, when the YKZ tournament starts, we'll be following not only the main tournament, also the Challengers group that has a nice collection of young prodigies, including Pragananda and Vincent Keimer and all those guys. We'll see how it plays out. And the main group is also interesting. Well, I don't know. We will see. Guys, listen. I would love to sit there and talk to you for another hour, but I got another commitment in 7 minutes and my throat is parched. I need to stop this so I can go up there and get a glass of water. Master game, close tournament with good commentary. Yeah, right, keep your hopes high. Look what they did with the London Classic. 4 players, this Grand Chess Tour thing, that it has to stop. Somebody, I don't know, somebody give, how much money does Kasparov need? What's his operating budget? $1 million a year, probably more. Somebody give this guy enough money, keep him away from, giving his input to this, to organizing chess tournaments. Let him whatever, let him commentate, let him whatever, let him play blitz. But I mean, the Grand Chess Tour thing, it should be killed and I don't know, just nipped in the bud, it should never come back. No elite tournaments that have 10 players playing each other the whole year. This thing is evil, it's gross, it's obscene. Alright, I have to go, guys. Bye.